So for the camera, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about the pub and you sort of running it in general?
Okay, my name is Keith Smith. I've been landlord of the Fox and Goose for 21 years. 13 years myself and my wife's own right, before that running here for a brewery. Basically we've lived here for 21 years, so we've got to know the village and the people in it, and we're very happy.
Yeah. So to start, would you like to give me sort of as best you can an overview as to the impacts Covid-19, or sort of anything specific, any specific impacts Covid-19's had on your business as the Fox and Goose?
Yeah, it's been a very frustrating period, obviously for obvious reasons. The initial impact of the first lockdown was pretty dramatic, not just for us but for everybody. But all of a sudden, just to sort of close the doors and turn the tap of income off was quite worrying. And there's no doubt about it, if we hadn't have had some government grants, we wouldn't be sitting here now. It's been very detrimental in the way I think some of the pub industry and other industries, but I'm talking about the pub industry, has been a bit hit harder than others, and that has quite a dramatic effect on not only the economy to the pub, but health reasons as well for some of the staff and ourselves, you know.
So you mentioned the grants you got from the government.
Yeah.
Can you go into a bit more details about that? So what sort of grants did they give you? What sort of support did you get? And on the contrary, what do you think the government could have done better, if at all, with their sort of support of your business?
To be fair to the government, ourselves, we can only speak about the Fox and Goose, we've been quite fortunate. We've managed to get the government support grants, and we've had a few self-employed grants for myself and my wife. Obviously the furlough payments for the staff has helped to keep them in a job, because there's no doubt about it, if we hadn't have had that, all the staff would have been made redundant. So again, we've been very lucky with it. We've had earlier grants, the initial grants, because I think originally, even the government thought it would 3 months or something at the end of June, it was all going to be over, and here we are a year later. So to be fair, I think they've done quite a good job. There's been mistakes made, but in hindsight, anybody can blame somebody.
And what are some of these health issues you've had with your staff you mentioned?
I think it's more of a mental health. You know, when you get someone at the beginning and say you can have 3 months off being paid 80% of your wages, people think, oh, this is good. But if you ask any of them now, when they've had to come back to work after the first lockdown, and then again after the second lockdown, and again after the third lockdown, they all want to get back to work. And it's very difficult for some of them to get back into the running. Even myself, you know, there's things you forget. And the way that, you know, you're so used to being a routine, doing this every day, that every day, and all of a sudden you're not doing it for 3 months, and it does affect you. You know, there's been times when I wouldn't say I've been depressed, but there's times when I didn't want to come down here. The place is cold. It's, you know, it's soulless.
So, and how have you coped between lockdowns? So obviously there was a period where we reopened and then we closed again and reopened. How have you coped since that sort of period?
Well, we did start doing takeaways so that we kept the business running. A, because we wanted to keep it running to keep some money coming in, and B, there has been people, local people and others, who want to support us. So if they want to support you, you have to give them something to support, which we did in the way of takeaways. We realised though that what we started off as something like 4 days a week or 4 nights, and it ended up just doing 2, because you just can't sustain it for 4 nights. You know, it just wasn't worth it.
And how, you mentioned you came close to closing if it weren't for the government grants. How that sort of pulls into question the importance of the pub in the village. So how important, how important is the role that the pub plays in the local area and in the sort of the surrounding area of Salisbury and Wiltshire?
Well, personally, I think it's very important. I mean, even before COVID, you know, an estate agent will tell you that if you live in a village with a pub, your house is going to be worth more money than one that hasn't. I think it's very important that we get together with the local community, local villages, to try and support them, and then hopefully they support us. You know, we support the cricket club and drama clubs and things like that, and they come down and support us as well. So it's very important, I think. Not only that, is that people who don't live in the village, they're passing by or they're passing through, they stop off at the pub for a drink, or they look at the village, they say, this is a nice village, nice pub, let's come back.
And looking forward, so you've survived the past year, which has obviously been very difficult. Given that the future plans for this country in terms of dealing with COVID are not, obviously we have a roadmap, but it's not all set in stone. What plans do you have to sustain the business for sort of the next year and onwards?
To be honest, unless we get back to the real normality with no restrictions, the pub is really only breaking even. We need to be able to get back to no restrictions. We need a bit more support from the government in respect of probably like VAT reductions, and I would extend that to alcohol or drinks as well as food, which they have at the moment. We need a drastic review of business rates, because there is a holiday but only to the end of June, but that is, to me, is a killer for pubs. And I'm probably at the moment we owe some rent. They could look at doing some sort of looking at rent support, because we are not out the woods yet. You know, we owe a lot of money to the landlords and a few others, and we're just getting by. And even now, with this opening up now, it's not really a viable business. It's breaking even. You know.
So would you say you're losing confidence in the sustainability of the business, or are you still confident that it will be here in a year's time?
I'm confident. The way the roadmap is going, if the government stick to that roadmap, so by June the 21st we've basically lifted the restrictions, and then we can get the confidence of consumers back to feel safe coming into the pub, I think there will be a boost. I think there will be a boost. But we can't get to the point where we come to next winter and let's lock down again. We just cannot carry on like that.
That's all I got for you, so I'll stop recording quickly.